Oh, hi. I thought I would share about spiritual gifts. Okay, I've had as I said, I've mentioned that I've had lots of spiritual experiences, but sometimes I haven't mentioned what they are. Well, um, when you read in the Bible, it talks about different gifts, and it seems to be there's some gifts given by God the Father, some gifts given by Jesus, and some gifts given by the Holy Spirit. Um, but the three persons is one God. There's not three gods. There's three persons making up one God that are in one God. Um, anyway, the gifts given by the Holy Spirit. I went to this church, first church I went to, and um, when I came back, went to the became a Christian at about 21, age 21. Um, and I'm there, and I'd been taught I'd already had the gift of tongues at a young age. I'd been brought up first my parents were Jehovah's Witnesses, and then they got excommunicated and became just went to Christian churches. And I was taught when I was baptized at a very young age, I think 11, that when you're baptized you get the gift of tongues as well when you're baptized. So I already thought I had it, and I come back to church at age 21, and I decided I wanted to go through discipleship training, and I'm doing a course on discipleship training, and the lady comes in and says, "There's this person we're praying for the gift of tongues. If you guys want to come in and help." So I thought, oh yeah, and so I went in there, and I thought I already had it, of course, and so I was praying for this person, for the gift of tongues and all this. Um, the person started speaking in tongues, and I went, oh well, that's good. I've got it as well. Now, remember, I thought I had it already, and I was just, yeah, I said, oh, well, I've got it as well. That's great. And I went home, and at the time I was 21, so only 21, you worry about things like weights and things like that, bodybuilding, and I had a weight set at home, and I was lifting weights at home with a bar bench, one of them curling bars with weights on it, just lifting things, not doing anything particularly spiritual, you could say. And actually, in fact, you probably could say it was completely non-spiritual. And while I'm lifting weights, all of a sudden my mouth just exploded. It just went blah 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 and started uncontrollably. I didn't control. I hadn't even wasn't even thinking about anything, and it just uncontrollably started speaking in um, tongues. Now, I thought I'd already had tongues, but it was just going rapid, rah 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 rah, full non-stop. And I thought, this is crazy. I was just lifting weights, and all of a sudden my mouth is rah 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 in tongues. And so I thought, whoa. But I went into the bathroom, and I was looking in the mirror at my mouth, in the mirror, watching my mouth talking, because it felt unnatural that it was speaking without me controlling it. That it was speaking in tongues, and I didn't know what I was saying, and it was going on and on and on. It wasn't stopping. It was really, really like fully flowing language. Now, years and years before, when I was 11 and I got baptized, what they told me was, oh, when you get baptized and you come out of the water, you'll have a gift of tongues given to you, and just all you do is speak, and the words will come out. And so, and so I go, oh yeah, and nothing came, nothing came out when I did it. They said, oh, you just have to make some syllables, and then eventually your language will grow over time and it'll get longer and longer. And I was, oh yeah, okay. So my tongues when I was like 11 was uh uh K-A, no, that's Dutch. It wasn't K-A spelling mate, that's actually Dutch. Sorry, I had Dutch friends when I was young as well. No, it wasn't that, it was Kita Kita Fada Fada, or something like that. Kita Kita Fada Fada. And I don't think it ever got any longer than that. So I used to just say kira kira whara whara, kira kira whara whara, when I was young, growing up, thinking I had tongues, but it never grew into any language or anything, and I was just taught that's how you had tongues and it would grow. So after I come into the mirror, anyway, after this experience, my mouth's just going blah 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 with all these tongues, saying all this stuff, and I'm there looking in the mirror going, what is going on? God spoke to me in my mind, not audibly, but in my head, and to my thoughts, really. Okay, it's like speaking to your thoughts, and said, when you get tongues, you don't get syllables or anything. When I give you tongues, I give you the whole language. And I went, oh, and that dawned on me that this was tongues that was happening to me. And I thought, oh, I thought I already had tongues. So in a way, God gave me tongues supernaturally without me knowing when He gave it to me, because I already thought I had it. So He gave it to me in a way that really surprised me quite a lot, and I'm really glad about that. That's the way I got tongues, because um, the other way, well, really, I can't ever deny that I didn't get given tongues because of the way it has happened. I can't really become you know did I just make this up, or was I coerced, or was someone just telling me, making me do it? Am I just copying someone else, or whatever? Is it just me? Okay, so I'm glad it happened the way it is, because it meant I could believe that it happened properly when it happened for me. That's how I got tongues. But that's not necessarily the way everyone has to have it, and it's not necessarily that everyone gets the whole language either. I don't think. But that's what happened for me, and so I had to believe in tongues after that, didn't I? I had a strong belief in tongues, and I had tongues, and I've noticed the more I speak in tongues, the different it actually sounds sometimes. It sounds like a completely different language at times when I speak in it. So, yep, that is speaking in tongues. An example would be, no, I'm not going to do it on camera. But anyway, yeah, that's my experience with the gift of tongues. Oh, actually, might as well explain about interpreting tongues. Now, I was, uh, I'm going to church and all this. This is a few years later. And I noticed that there was a lot of people who would prophesy in church or speak called prophetic words, but not a lot of people. A lot of people could pray in tongues, but it seemed like not a lot of people were using the gift of interpretation of tongues. And I thought, why is that? So one day I was sitting in my room in my bed, much like what I'm doing now, and I was actually praying to God, talking to Him, saying, what about interpretation of tongues? Why isn't that a very common language? And I was having a conversation about it, and I started speaking in tongues, and after speaking in tongues, I started praying again, and then I heard the Lord speak to me and say, what you just did was interpretation of tongues. And I went, what? And what had happened was I didn't even know I'd done it. That's the thing. I had been speaking in tongues, and then straight after speaking in tongues, what I had been praying was the interpretation, but I wasn't aware that was the interpretation. So the Lord pointed out to me that I had done it, but I hadn't been aware that's what I'd done. And in fact, I now think that, and it was so natural and so easy, I didn't even know I'd done it. This is the thing. I just thought it was me praying. So that's what I found out about interpretation in tongues. In fact, I think it's a lot more common than we think, and in fact, it's can be so natural when someone speaks in tongues, or we speak in tongues, and then we start praying in English. afterwards that we don't even know that was what we were speaking in tongues, that we were actually interpreting it as well. Yeah, yeah, that was quite interesting for me, a revelation. Now, I do believe that tongues actually can be a natural language of the earth as well, and that it can be a language that is spoken by foreigners, and you can speak in tongues and they can actually understand it as an actual human language. That happened in the book of Acts, um, and so um, that's what a lot of people think is tongues, and nothing else can be tongues. But no, there are tongues of angels and of men. It does talk about that when we speak in tongues, we speak mysteries. Okay, so there are definitely different types of tongues. So don't get all caught up about it.